Hello and welcome back to RamsTalkPodcast. We're here today when Derby have actually won a game. We've won a game, and we didn't just win a game; we won it convincingly as well. A 4-0 battering of Portsmouth, who we played them last year. We were probably quite even, I'd say overall. 2 draws probably said a lot, but played them this year, and they looked a shadow of their former selves. And Derby ran riot, scoring 4 really good goals. So we've got loads to talk about from that game, as well as touching on Burnley midweek as well. So joining me today to talk all about it, a bit of a different panel today. First off, we've got Vik Singh. How are you, Vik?
Good evening, chaps. Yeah, feeling good. Nice to actually have a nice weekend to celebrate a good result. So, yeah, feeling good.
Good stuff. And we've also got, for the first time, I think it's been 2.5 years, Craig. We've got Craig Nash as well.
Yeah.
How are you
Nice
doing, mate?
having back, guys. Yeah, thanks so much. All good. Yeah, weekend seems a lot longer, doesn't it, after you've won on a Friday night?
Yeah, it certainly does. I actually quite like night games. I think Derby have won, I think it's 5 or 6 night games in a row on a Friday night. So maybe we should play them more often. Maybe
Some more of
that's
them,
what
yes,
gets the
please.
best out of this team. And last but certainly not least, we've got the most stressed man in, I think, the whole of Derbyshire. Jack Doughty, how are you, pal?
Yeah, other than the mad dash to get back with situations now, we're all good. Don't worry. We're just about on time. Fashionably late.
Fashionably late, exactly. And before we jump into things today, I just want to say a quick shout out to Derby Food for Thought Alliance. Some of you that have followed us for a while will know we've been doing a fundraiser where we're running the length of every Derby away game this season. So that's 3,800 kilometres between us, and that's outside of our normal football and normal exercise. So it's an extra sort of 600, 700 kilometres each. And we actually went, me and Vik went on Thursday last week and had a look at what they do and how they operate, and it was brilliant. It was a really good experience, and it was really nice to see all the good work that they do for people in and around Derby and Derbyshire. So if you haven't donated already, please do head down into our description and please donate what you can. We'd be very grateful, and I think they'd appreciate it ahead of Christmas. Right, let's talk about football. Vik, Derby won 4-0. Can you believe it? Last week we spent the whole probably 45 minutes just moaning about how poor we were and how we didn't really have any direction. We didn't really look like we wanted to win. And Derby Derby on Friday, completely different team. Positive from the first minute, went forwards from the first minute. We could have scored really early on, ended up scoring within the first 10 minutes. Really good goal as well. I mean, what happened there? Why have we suddenly switched up?
Could be a number of reasons. I'm going to put it out there. I think they listened to the podcast and they reacted to it. So fair play to the lads. But no, it's amazing what happens when you actually take the handbrake off. I mean, one knew he needed a reaction from the last 2 performances, and even looking back to Burnley away as well, it's just the fact that we were more on the front foot, we were more adventurous, we started playing with a bit more bravery, and I think, and we've been saying it all season, if we just play like that with a bit more bravery, don't show teams respect, you'll get results. We've got 4 points at the end of the week, so happy days in my opinion. And like you said, going back to Portsmouth, we smashed them. Like I don't think I've seen before Bristol City, I don't think I've seen Derby play that well. Literally controlled the game from start to finish. So it's nice to see that the performances are taking an upturn. I'm glad that the players and the management staff listen to the podcast, so we will take full credit for the 4 points. Thank you very much. But yeah, no, it's really good to see, and I'm really happy that we've had a good week after what turned out to be a bit of a rough time for Derby.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Craig, all the fans were calling for it, weren't they? A bit more positivity, a bit more drive. And Vik mentioned showing respect. And I think when we played Leeds, we showed them far too much respect. I think we showed them so much respect, we actually forgot we were meant to compete ourselves. And that Burnley game was completely different. We really gave them a game. And I think on another day, Jerry Yates puts that shot away and we end up going away with a win. I don't think Burnley really threatened us too much at all. And then we go against Portsmouth and we've got the same positivity, the same mindset. I mean, it makes such a huge difference, doesn't it, when the players are positive, when, we play a positive style of play, because it lifts the fans. And you could tell, couldn't you, sort of in the stands on that Friday night there, when we went up and attacked from the first whistle, the atmosphere was great. And we haven't seen that in a while, have we? How important is it that Derby keep that going in future games?
Massive. And I think confidence has a massive part to play in that. I think we went into that Leeds game already beaten before we crossed the white line. And I think a lot of Paul Warne's tactics and team talks might have had something to do with that. And the feedback that he got, I think, is big in his journey for Derby. because maybe he thought he was going to approach Burnley in the same way. But being at a massive club like Derby, you can't go into games like that. And I think that's been a big catalyst for the last week, installing that confidence in the players. It was like a different team. It was like the Derby we want to see under Paul Warne. And that's the Derby we want him to deliver, because he's such a top bloke, isn't he? And we want to see that every week. So yeah, I was buzzing with it, to be fair.
Yeah, I think we all were, weren't we? We all were. And Jack, we talked. Well, both lads have talked about positivity, and it kind of felt like the players and probably the manager as well had a point to prove after last Saturday, because he came out after the game and mentioned we've got a League One team and all of that sort of stuff, which went down really well with the fan base. Everyone sort of took it brilliantly, no negatives at all, and it seems to have sort of done something to warn to the players. And that Burnley game, yes, Burnley aren't as good going forwards as Leeds, but they're still a really good team right at the top of the league, and they've got the magic to unlock teams down the bottom. But we went out there in both of those games with winning on our mind, not just survival, not just, eke out a point, get a result, don't concede too many chances. We went out there to win. And that's so different, isn't it, from the Derby that we've seen probably since that Bristol City game, where we've kind of sat back and let the other team dictate the game. Derby actually sort of went on the front foot a little bit more. I know we didn't have too much possession against Burnley, but still, when we did get the ball, we threw players forwards. And again, same as the other guys, do you think that that's the way forward for Derby now? Do we have to keep this going?
I think in moderation, yeah. I mean, I'm just gutted I wasn't there. I was working late, and I got back in the car as it kicked off, and I was like, oh, and then the first goal goes in, and the roar from through the Radio Derby was ridiculous, and I got so much FOMO. I wasn't involved in it, and I rang my friend who's sitting next to him in the south stand, and he couldn't hear me. I couldn't hear him. It was I just bottle that emotion up and send it to me, because they're the type of nights that you like. And by the time I got home, we was 3-0 up, cruising, and I was like, I was so happy, but also like, I'm devastated, man. Like, why wasn't I involved? But watching the game, you could see even at 3-0, we wasn't tempted to sit in. Like, we wasn't tempted to go deep. We was just more content with keeping the ball, attacking. And, Harness's assist for the fourth goal epitomizes that. We picked the ball up deep in our own half. Kane Wilson goes on his adventures, and the pass was excellent. Harness has been a revelation out on the right for me. He looks so much more comfortable. And, yeah, we looked devastating, didn't we, at times? We were so clinical, despite not really creating a million chances, which, that's what we've been talking about.
But in comparison to previous games, I mean, the Hull game sticks out for me. Plymouth especially is one that really sticks out for me, where Derby scored and immediately sat back. And even when we did concede, we didn't really go too far forwards. And we weren't as, like you say, you talk about Kane Wilson going on his adventures, but the whole team weren't adventurous at all. And I think that ended up costing us points. And I think going forwards, we just need to go for it a bit more, don't we? We really do. And if we keep playing like that, if, Warne's shown that these players can do this, and he's shown that tactically he can do it in this league, especially in games like that. So let's hope we can keep it up and keep it going. And we won't be having any more episodes like last week, and Twitter will be a readable place again. But let's go all the way back to the first goal, Vic. I mean, it's a really good goal. It is a really, really good goal. I mean, I'm pretty sure Kane Wilson starts the attack and ends up at the feet of Jerry Yates, feeds Mendes-Lang, who seemed to be revitalised. I don't know what did it to him, but somehow he was full of confidence, full of beans again. He runs at the defender, sends him left, sends him right, puts a lovely pass across the box, and Kane Wilson takes advantage of the laziness of Josh Murphy to just sweep it in at the far post. It's good football, wasn't it, Vic? And that's why when people talk about the best performances of the season, yes, I thought Bristol City was a good performance, but I think given the occasion and given the importance of Friday's game, I think Friday was probably even more important, and that goal epitomised it. To play the football that we played in such a pressurised occasion, it was really impressive, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I think we've seen snippets of what Derby can do this season in terms of actually playing football, and we know that we can do it. We've got the squad to do it. We've got the players to do it. And that first goal epitomised everything about what we want to see Derby do this season, how we want to see us play. If we played like that every week, and still lost games, there'd be less complaints because we know what we're trying to do. We could see a style of play, we could see patterns of play. It was evident that day. And like I said, the first goal deserved it. We got at him from the front foot. Kane Wilson, like I said, started the move, finished the move deservedly. I think his performances have warranted a goal, but Harness was brilliant. I thought the way Harness played, I think it's hard to drop him down. It sort of not nullifies, but it sort of gives us an answer to the left side conundrum. Like you said, Mendes Lang was again on fire. It's amazing what you can do when you actually put him on the right side. But I'm not Paul Warne and I'm not the manager, so yeah, I won't give too much advice to him. But yeah, everything just clicked that day, and that's what was most pleasing about it. It was everything we tried to do, it worked, and it was just nice to see us be so dominant. And again, like I said, Kane Wilson deserved the goal. He started the move, ended the move, and he was just a menace all night, as with the whole side going forward, especially from the front 4 or 5 players. I thought we really gave him a headache, and credit to us. I thought we deserved our first goal and all the goals that came with it.
Yeah, I really think we did. And I mean, we didn't take too long to get a second as well. I mean, we were really, really unlucky not to score. I think Howard had a shot that was blocked and went out for a corner. And like I said, we're starting to really look like we're picking up the tempo. Portsmouth couldn't handle us. We forced a corner and Mr. Nutmeg himself, Kenzo Howard, takes the corner. And it was clearly something that had been worked on. It's another Matt Hamshaw special because if you watch that corner again, Kenzo doesn't usually take corners from that side. It's usually Osborne. We usually in-swing it from there. But Kenzo takes it, and you just see 3 players run into that box. But Cashin kind of hangs back a little bit, and Kenzo puts a perfect ball onto Cashin's head. Was there some fortune about the header? Possibly, maybe a little bit to loop it over the defender like that. But I'd like to think that Cashin meant that, and he picked out the top corner by bounced it off the floor and in. Craig, I mean, it's such a good header, and we know we're good at set pieces, but I think that's probably one of the best we've scored this season because we completely bamboozled Pompey with that one. They did not expect it at all. We knew it was a weakness of theirs, and once again, we've taken advantage of it.
I mean, initially when I first saw the goal, I thought it was dreadful defending from Portsmouth from the corner for Cash to have a free header. But like you said, the movement of the players moving in and then him hanging back, very, very clever set piece. And we don't score that many goals from set pieces by luck and by teams defending poorly, do we? Whatever they're doing on the training ground is big. And in this league, you know, we've got some players who can compete in the Championship, but not the whole squad. And so we're proving that set pieces, we can be so dangerous. And with people like Cash and Nelson, the delivery from Kenzo and Ben Osborne and Callum Elder can swing one in as well. That won't be the last time we score a lovely corner, I have no doubt.
Yeah, I think, well, we've still scored more set pieces than open play goals this season, so I don't doubt that at all. I think we'll see a lot more of those, hopefully a lot more away from home as well, because I think that's where we need to utilise it a bit more. But yeah, cracking goal. And then, Jack, we move on to the third goal, and just all over was just magic football. I mean, Forsyth's first pass to Mendes Lang was not magic, but when it found its way back to him and that ball through that he played, and Mendes Lang again goes left, goes right, and Fozzie overlaps. It's like 2014 all over again. Puts a low cross in, and Ibu Adams is there to steer it home via a deflection. And I noticed, and I had a little count, Jack, because, you know, we're very famously over the last sort of 10 or so games, we've not really got bodies forward when we've attacked. But I don't know whether it was the way we set up. I don't know whether it was the fact we gained a bit of confidence. 6 Derby players in that box when that ball went across the box. Now, the one you probably wouldn't expect it to fall to is Ibu Adams, and he's the one that's ended up steering it home. It makes such a difference getting players in the box, doesn't it? And it's great for Adams as well. I mean, we saw Cardiff fans sort of still backing the idea that he wouldn't get into their team. He scored as many goals as all of their centre mids combined, which I thought was quite funny. But it's another great team goal, isn't it? And it's good to see us actually committing players forward.
Yeah, well, there was a couple of screenshots from the last home game where we had one player in a box compared to when we was losing and we had, 5 or 6 in there. And it does make a massive difference when you're swinging a ball into the box and you've got one striker who's not a striker in the middle of the box, shall we say. It's no point. There is 0 point in it. But when we get in the football for that third goal was fantastic. Like I say, Forsyth's first pass was, well, questionable, but the fact that he reacts, he could have quite easily switched off that half a second and let them get on the break. He nicks back in. The second pass is just magic, isn't it? Between the gap and 35 years of age, and he's getting on that overlap. And, we've seen Fozzie in them areas for the last God knows how many years, putting in them kind of balls. And I've noticed of recent, Adams is being given that little bit more license, and I think that probably is to do with Ben Osborne. I think Osborne is, Paul Warne's described him as a dog, hasn't he? That he doesn't know when to stop chasing a ball, and with his injury record, he can't run and run and run. So maybe allowing Ibu to do that. I mean, we know Ibu's quality isn't, great in them areas, but 6 yards out, I back him to at least hit the target, which he almost didn't, but it went in, and that's all that matters. And as I say, it's just nice to see us keep the football and not just smash one diagonally or smash one up to Jerry Yates and expect him to do 3,000 kick-ups and hold the ball up. So, yeah, if we can see more of that, and it relies on Forsyth being fit, because I just see him and Elder, they're the same sub every time, 60, 70 minutes. They're going to come on for each other. And, we've got to keep them both fit, because if one of them drops, we're in a bit of a mess.
Yeah, I agree. Although I thought Elder played really well against Burnley, I will say. I thought he had a really, really good game. It's good to have options, isn't it? It's good to have multiple players in form. Like we said last week, we were saying we've not got anyone in form anywhere. And then all of a sudden we pop up and everyone's undroppable, as is the way when you tend to win a couple of games or a game quite comfortably. And I guess on the final goal, you've mentioned it already, Kane Wilson, his running was superb. And I think when we play more positively and we play more attacking, it unlocks him a bit more. I think when we're pinned back, he's not built for that negative drop-in style, is he? He's not one to sit in, defend deep. He wants to carry that ball, and he did. He won the ball deep and ran 50, 60 yards before playing through Marcus Harness. And the feet from Harness was superb. It really, really impressive feet. And he just sent the defender. Well, the defender was still sliding, I think, with the ball at the back of the net, and sent him into a different postcode, put it across, and Marlon Pack, Derby's saviour from a few years ago, gets on the score sheet to benefit the Rams again. And Vic, it's another really good goal. I kind of wish a Derby player had put it in, because I think Harness deserved the official assist for that. But it's another example of really good counter-attacking football. And again, 4 players in the box, we're going to score goals.
Exactly, and just going back to the overall performance, it's like we said, that everything just clicked for us that night. Everything that we did moving forward in a positive manner worked for us. And again, Harness, like we said, had a really, really good game. I think, myself included, I think some of us did write him off and think that maybe he was being ineffective in this side. But now we see that if he's playing on the wing, he's much more effective there than he is as a number 10. And in my opinion, I don't think he is that. But yeah, it was great football once again. And even going back to Kane Wilson, we know his strengths. We know he's going to try and take players on from a fullback area. He's going to try and overlap, and he's just always going to be an attacking threat. And I think part of that was because of the way Portsmouth were set up in a way, but I think they were just a bit shell-shocked by the fact that we'd scored 2 goals so quickly and took control of the game. I think it allowed the rest of the team to just ooze in confidence. And I think when you've got a player like Kane Wilson who is willing to go forward, who's willing to take players on and just try something that maybe the others aren't, it breeds confidence in the rest of the side too. And then it just sort of rubs off on everybody else. So you saw like Mendes Lang have a good game. Harness had a good game. Kenzo was brilliant in the middle. Even to a point, I thought Osborne had a really good game as well, being that link between the defence and the attack, always dropping in to receive the ball and just spraying it. But yeah, I was really glad that we got that 4th goal. Like I said, it's a shame a Derby player couldn't put it in the back of the net, but at this moment in time, I'm not really bothered if the goalkeeper chucks it into his own net. As long as we get the goal and score and get these 3 points, that's all that matters to me. But yeah, like I said, excuse me, Derby's performance overall, fantastic. I just want to see more of it. And we get a result like this, and I don't want to get too carried away, because I always think that the next game is just as important. And I think we need to back it up now. To see the consistency. If we can keep putting these performances in and picking up the points, then Portsmouth isn't just a one-off, a bit like Bristol City. If we can keep it up, then we'll only go up from here. But yeah, again, very pleased with how everything went on Friday. And long may it continue. I ain't said that for a while.
Yeah, God, let's hope we do continue, because I think we need a little bit more of that. Craig, I mean, you've mentioned the midfield there: Ben Osborne, Kenzo Haldmine, Ibu Adams. When we set up, we tend to sit with Kenzo and Osborne a little bit deeper. I think that's mainly because Ibu runs around like a crazy man, and having him in that deeper role, you just wouldn't get him to hold position. I don't think you get the best out of him. So we end up pressing, and Ibu ends up pressing high with the other two deeper. I thought we saw the best out of that midfield on Friday, because usually we end up sitting really deep and Ibu does his pressing game. But because we don't hit teams on the break and we don't really want to keep the ball too much ourselves, we end up with Haldmine just sat deep. And that's where he ends up, people going, well, why is he sat so deep? Why is he not getting on the ball? Why is he not playing in the 10? I think yesterday we saw it at its best, where Ben Osborne was sweeping up sort of at the back. He'd sit a little bit deeper, and Kenzo had the opportunity to push forward because we had the ball a bit more. I mean, we had 50% possession. When was the last time we did that? I can't remember the last time we were above about 35. Don't you think it made a difference? I mean, we just keep repeating the same things over and over again, don't we? But that midfield looked a lot more balanced than it has in a long time.
Yeah, I don't think Osborne in particular gets enough credit for how good of a footballer he is, because when he came into the club, he was known as that, sort of dog who'd run after everything. But he has got quality. You don't play that many games in the Premier League, in a struggling side for a lot of it, obviously. But if you're not decent, and I think having him taking the ball off the defence allows Ibu to do what he's good at, because we don't really want Ibu Adams doing that, do we? He's probably League Two player with the ball at his feet and a Premier League player without a possession. So we need to let him do what he's special at. It frees up Kenzo. Even if Thompson was in there, I think he's better with the ball at his feet than he gets credit for as well. So we do have some really good players in there. And this is all without David Ozo. He is a colossus. We only saw him for 5 or 6 games. And finally, I'm feeling like the balance of the midfield is where we've wanted it to be without David Ozo. So if he does come back fit, how that will drive the team forward is pretty exciting, because I feel like it's clicked. But I do want to add that I'm not getting too carried away. I think Portsmouth were awful.
Yeah, definitely.
So they were awful. So hopefully we can take that into the next game. But I'm feeling positive. We've got some good options. So the march for the playoffs continues. Maybe.
God.
Yeah, I'm joking. I'm joking.
So Jack, playoffs.
No.
We're only 8 points.
No, not happening.
But can you see Derby taking this forward? Craig's right. Portsmouth were terrible. Just want to say as well, Portsmouth fans were brilliant. They were really, really good. I mean, we saw Bristol City earlier in the season, and their fans were, rubbish, weren't they? The second they went a goal down, we didn't hear a peep from them for the rest of the game. But the Portsmouth fans were great, and even at 4-0 down, they were still singing, which is, quite a good thing to do. And even I don't think we were singing that much when we were 2-0 down to Leeds. So yeah, it must have been difficult for them. But when we look at Derby and we look at Derby going forwards, can you see us carrying this on? Because, as mentioned, Portsmouth were poor. Were Burnley that good? 2 clean sheets in a row. But is that something we can continue forwards, or are we reading too much into it?
It's a tough one, isn't it? Because we've played better than that and lost. Like, we were great, don't get me wrong, but we've played better performances overall than that and not come away with anything. And we've also played... I think, like, when we look at Bristol City, we didn't particularly play great. We won 3-0, but we should have been 3-0 down inside the first 20 minutes. And again, fortunately, we come out and, there's been games I thought we played very well against Norwich, but came away with absolutely nothing. And for me, I mean, Portsmouth, they looked lack of ideas. I think they've got an injury issue at the back as well, because Marlon Pack looked lost at times at centre half, and he was really bugging me wearing number 7 as well. That was really irritating. But I just think if you play that way, you have to make sure that it's a really coachy term, but you've got to finish the action. You've got to either get a shot away, you've got to win a free kick, you've got to make sure you don't get turned over, because if we get turned over when we commit that many bodies, teams who are half decent will hit us. And again, we was finishing the action off. We was getting shots away. We was winning set pieces, which we know is basically like a free kick, corner. The corners have just become what free kicks were under Frank Lampard. Like, you got a chance every time
Harry
someone
Wilson,
steps over
yeah.
one. Yeah, exactly. And it's just, we've got to make sure we keep going, even if it results in a throw-in. Make sure that we don't get counter-attacked, because I can't remember many times Portsmouth actually caught us. And when you look back at some of the goals we have conceded, it's because we have been very sloppy. And again, we can't let that creep in. We have to make sure we are completing what we're doing. And you've seen the difference in, as we alluded to, bodies in the box. And that's ultimately everything that we need to be doing.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I think Burnley's probably a better example for that, isn't it, Jack? When you think about, when we did commit players forward, when we did get chances, a lot of the time we would win the throw-in.
Yep.
You'd have the shot in a difficult position, just so you don't get hit on the break. I thought we dealt with it quite well. I know Cashin got caught out a couple of times, but we dealt with it pretty well. But I know exactly what you mean. I think a better team might have done a little bit better. I think Josh Murphy had a couple of decent chances, didn't he, down that left-hand side, and yeah, maybe on another day might have set a goal up if Colby Bishop was capable at football. But, you can't have it all, can you? But Vik, I mean, one thing we haven't spoken about yet is Erin Cashin's injury. Now, on Tuesday, he was holding his hamstring. He sort of made out that it was a bit of a wind-up to the Burnley fans. Whether that was actually an injury issue that he's carried into Friday, we don't know. But he did have to go off with a hamstring injury. That is a bit of a concern. I thought he looked miles better than Portsmouth. I thought he looked probably top-end championship level on Friday, because every time he got that ball, he would drop his shoulder and Colby Bishop would go sprinting into the stand somewhere because he just couldn't read it. And he just looked levels above, didn't he? But now we're probably going to lose him for at least a few weeks. What do Derby do? How do we fix it?
It's a shame, really, because I think Cashin's probably been our most consistent player throughout the season. I think if there's any positive light that we could shine even from the negative run of results that we had, was the fact that Cashin was still putting in good performances. It's a shame that he has gone down injured. It didn't look great from where we were sitting. The only way you fix it is to obviously replace him with whoever we've got on the bench. So we know that we've got Sonny Bradley. Nat Phillips slotted in pretty well, in my opinion, when he came on against Portsmouth. I think the damage had already been done, but still a job to do, still a clean sheet to keep, and I thought he did pretty well. Prior to that, I think Nat Phillips actually did all right as well in the last few games that he's played. So there's that option. You've also got Sonny Bradley, who, again, is Marmite. Some fans like him, some don't, but he can do a job at this level maybe. And Jake Rooney has returned too. So we do have options there. It's just the fact that the quality that Cashin possesses, especially when he's defending, those diags that he hits and seems to find his players every time, that's the only thing we're going to be missing. So I wouldn't be surprised if we do maybe change shape a little bit, maybe go to a back three or back five, maybe to solidify it a bit more, depending on how long Cashin is obviously out. But it's a big miss, but I've been really pleased with his performances. And if he is out for quite a lengthy period, then we will miss him. But I think we do have enough quality to sort of cover that. The only thing is, I don't want us to change shape completely based on Cashin's injury. I just think that because we're in a good place at the minute going forward, if we to change everything just because of one player's injury, it's going to be to the detriment of the side. And
We've already done that, mate.
We're going to start moaning again. But we're going to start moaning again about how bad we've been. So, yeah, I think it's a shame if it's long term. Hopefully, it's nothing too serious and he's out for a few weeks. But yeah, I mean, we've got some cover there, and I think we can maybe alter a few things to work it out. But Cashin's a big miss regardless.
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, yeah, when Ozo went out, it took us 15 games to find a solution again, didn't it? So let's hope it doesn't take that long with this one. But I think the solution's a little bit more simple. Like you mentioned, Nat Phillips came on. Infernal's left a comment saying he thinks that Nelson and Phillips are going to start at the back. I think that he's probably right, isn't he, Craig? I think if we play a back four, it's going to be Curtis Nelson and Nat Phillips. Nat Phillips spent a lot of time at Liverpool playing on the left sort of side of a centre-back pair. And what do you think? Is Phillips the man? I know some people like Sonny Bradley. I think any team with pace will rip him to pieces. But what do you reckon?
I think Phillips is decent. I'd like to see him given a run in the team in a two, actually. I think the only reason we haven't seen more of him is because Nelson Cash have been so solid. I'm not Cash is a top player at this level, no doubt, but I'm not worried about him being injured because I think Phillips can cover that. I'd be more worried if we were like losing a Fozzie or an Elder and then we were relying on one of them, or if Kane Wilson was injured now and we're relying on Joe Ward to play right back with no Nyambe. Yeah, I wouldn't trust Bradley at this level. I think that might be a bit harsh, but I think anyone with pace would just eat him up. Maybe in a 3, like Vik was saying, in a 3 maybe, but again, I would probably rather see Fozzie in a 3 with Phillips and Nels rather than Bradley, just because of the pace and the mobility. But if it's short term, I'm really not fussed. Maybe he just fancied Christmas off, who knows? With the way he's been playing, he deserves it, really, so fair play to him.
Yeah, I wonder how many times that's happened in football where a player, it's like Neymar and his sister's birthday, isn't it?
Oh,
It's
yeah.
just like, always some mysterious injury around that time. Jack, would you agree, mate?
Yeah, I mean, he is a big loss because I think out of our centre backs, he is the best on the ball. And I think when you think of out of possession, it is very replaceable because, you know, he does everything that you want a centre half to do. He wins his headers, he wins his tackles, he doesn't really get muscled too much. I just feel, I mean, I'm not saying Sonny Bradley because I don't think he's half as good as what Aaron Cashin is on the ball, but you need balance because 2 right footers, very, again, going coachy on it all, it very, like, sort of limits you of what you can do in that 4. Like, we've seen it over the years countless times at Derby when we had Shackle and Richard Keogh playing together, and then Davis and Tamori, or Keogh and Tamori together. You just lose the ability to open up because we can't go left to right in a direct fashion. So it means we're going to have to stop that diagonal, which, again, I know I said earlier I want us to play a little bit more. But when you look at Curtis Nelson on the ball, is he particularly amazing? You've seen teams a lot of times this season sort of drop off and let Nelson have the ball because I think it was Sheffield United did it to us countless times. They just let Nelson have it because he's not going to hurt you with the ball. And for me, it could be more significant on the ball than what it actually is off it. So again, it's just more balance. And if you had to pick between the two, I'd obviously pick Nat Phillips. I think he's a far superior defender to what Sonny Bradley is. But again, it's about the balance. And we haven't really seen Nat with the ball too much anyway. He gets thrusted on when we're either playing direct or when we're winning 1-0 and we need him to edit a few times, which sometimes he does, sometimes we didn't. But I'm gutted for Cash because he has just started to really start performing. We knew with Cash and he starts slow, and now he's found his groove. It's such a shame that he's going to be missing for potentially 3 or 4 games.
Yeah, it's never good, is it, when you lose your better players? But yeah, like Craig said, I think if of any of the positions to lose one of our better players, this is probably the position we're most stacked in. I think we've definitely got more quality in centre back than probably anywhere else at the minute. But Vik, just to kind of touch on the defence maybe a little bit more, we went a lot of games without a clean sheet. I think we went 11 games or something, 12 games without a clean sheet. And then to get 2 in a week. One thing I've got written down on my notes in front of me is to do with the fact that when we do play a bit more positively, we actually look a little bit more solid at the back. And part of that, we talked about this last week, is how good Zetterstrom is at one-on-ones. Now, we saw it against Burnley 2-3 times where players ran through on goal and Zetterstrom didn't give them a chance. He's 7 foot tall. He gets his body wide and he gets in the way. Before, when we were sitting really deep, they were just getting chances in the box and they just have a tap in. But when you're running 1v1 with one of the biggest keepers in the league, one of the best one-on-one keepers in the league, it's a little bit tougher. So do you think that when we do play a bit more positively, it actually affects us defensively positively as well?
Yeah, I mean, it does because, well, for one, we're actually going out to try and win games or get points. But for 2, I think the defence trusts their keeper enough to know that if there is a one-on-one situation, we've probably got one of the best in the league to deal with that. As you saw against Burnley, I think, was there number 30? I think he got through on goal a couple of times when he come on as a sub. And
Alyosha, I think it was.
Yeah, he's a good little player, him. But yeah, Zetterstrom made the saves. And I think even against Portsmouth, I don't think he was troubled that much just because we were more on the front foot. It took the pressure off the defence, I think, because when we're playing against teams like Leeds and when we sat so deep, instantly the pressure's already on that defence because there's not enough space to sort of give, really. Is there that you're sort of cramming yourself into these two banks of four, wherever it is, but you're literally sitting on top of the box, and that's why teams were scoring tap-ins, and there was too much pressure on that defence. The fact that we're moving more forward with the ball and we're actually playing forward attacking football, it just relieves the pressure of the defence, and it's not so much onus on them to keep the clean sheet. So you're right, it's the fact that because we're being more positive, it's the fact that we're actually keeping clean sheets. It's nice to keep 2 clean sheets. So I think Paul Zetterstrom, I mean, we've been singing his praises all season, but he went a long time without keeping a clean sheet, and some of it was through no fault of his own, just purely with the way we set up. So it was nice for us to get that. It'll breed confidence in the defence, it'll breed confidence in the keeper, but I think there's a good partnership between the defence and the keeper to know that they all trust each other regardless of what happens. So if we keep playing the way we do, we'll probably keep more clean sheets. Even if we don't score the goals and don't get the wins, we'll 100% more likely to keep those clean sheets with the Great Wall of Derby, like I like to call it sometimes, when it's not been penetrated. So yeah, it's good to see that, but like I said before, Pompey, we can't allow Pompey to be a one-off. It's got to be backed up with these performances, and we've got to keep playing on the front foot to see the best of this Derby County side.
We do, and Craig, we saw Zetterstrom after the Coventry game with his celebrations with that away end. I was in that away end, and it was class. You know, all the players are going in, and he was still having a great time getting everyone going. And we sort of saw a similar sort of thing. I know half the South stand likes to leave after 85 minutes, but he ran over to the remaining members of the stand and was doing forward rolls. Everyone thought he was going to start the bounce. Instead, he's doing forward rolls instead. I mean, he's a great character, isn't he? And he's really insane. You can tell he's come from a different footballing culture to what there is here. And it's great to have someone like that in the dressing room, in the team, because as fans, that's the sort of thing you want to see.
He's slowly starting to embrace it here and get more confident to show. I think he's a bit bonkers. So we're starting to see that from him a bit. And he surprised me. He had an interview, didn't he, a few weeks ago on Radio Derby, and he's really actually a really intelligent bloke in what he was saying, which sometimes you don't expect from a keeper, which is a bit stereotypical, isn't it? But yeah, he's got the madness mixed with the intelligence. And I think he's flying under the radar a little bit as well. You know, we all rate him as Derby fans, but you see all the best keeper stats going around on social media, and I'm always surprised that he isn't in the top 10 for the championship. And I think that's only going to stand us in good stead in keeping hold of him. And I think we've definitely took him on to try and make some money out of him in the future with him being a Swedish international. So hopefully we can build him up over the next couple of years, and a Premier League club will come in and spend silly money on him.
Or he's with us in the Premier League.
I was about to say the same.
All that. Well, maybe the playoff push is on then.
No, not this year. Not this year. Stop.
We can dream. We can dream.
God, yeah. Jack, I mean, when we look forwards to Luton, obviously on Friday, they're not in amazing form. You know, I'm actually really surprised by how poor they've been this season, but they are kind of strong at home, as most teams are down the bottom. They're a lot better at home than they are away. It's going to be a challenging game, isn't it? And looking at the way we played, the players who sort of lost to injury. Obviously, Jerry Yates went off with a tight groin towards the end of the game as well. Let's hope that's nothing serious, because then we really are in the danger zone if we're starting Colo or Jackson. God, can you imagine? So, yeah, I mean, looking at who we've got available, let's say Yates is all right, and it's just a little bit of tightness because it's a chilly night on Friday, and he ran about a bit. What's your team looking like? How are you setting up away from home at Luton?
I mean, you want to say let's go for it because we're playing another struggler, and these are like, I was looking at the table before the game, and it really was a 6-pointer on Friday. Let's not get it twisted. Like, we're now I think we're 7 now, aren't we? 7 clear. But if you think that had been maybe after the weekend's results, that could have been like 1 or 2 points off the drop. And instead now we're all playoff push. But I just think that's just the shift, because we've beaten a side who, let's face it, they are going to struggle. And I know Oxford have just sat their manager today, which is bonkers. Like, that is ridiculous. And again, they might get that new manager kick. Let's hope they don't, and they carry on struggling, because that's another spot and taken up. And Hull look like they're struggling as well. But making distance to that back, the bottom 3, and beating the teams in that bottom 6 is huge, because let's face it, bonus points at Burnley, we expected nothing. Even Paul Warne expected nothing at Leeds. So these are the ones that I'd take a point personally. You win your home games, draw away, that's playoff form. And we're not going to do that. Let's not get carried away. We're not. But we've got to make sure we're taking points away from home, because that has been the crutch. That has been the crutch to us last season. We basically got promoted because we won away. And if we can start taking some of that into this season, we'll be fine. And I said 1,000,001 times, we're not going to get relegated. I don't think we will. I think there's arguably 3 or 4 teams worse than us. And we had a bad run, and let's just hope we're over it. And we go away to Kenilworth Road and at least get a point. 3 would be obviously amazing. And would that be our second away win? Which it's a bit depressing, isn't it, that we've only won once away from home? So let's go to one of the most dismal grounds in the league and get something, shall we?
Yeah, I've seen 1 win, 5 defeats away from home this season, which has been nice.
Are you going?
I am going, yeah. Can't wait.
Oh, we're losing then.
Can't wait. Yeah, hey, I was there for Coventry. Let's keep that in mind. But yeah, it's gonna be a tough game, isn't it? Again, it's another probably 6 pointed down the bottom. I think it's probably more important for Luton than it is for us, with the position they're in and the way they've been playing so far this season. But it's going to be massive. But, we're averaging 2 points per game over the last week. If we keep this going for the rest of the season, we'll be right up there. So who knows? It might not even be anything to worry about at all. So let's get some score predictions. If you are watching live, please do throw them in the chat now, and I'll read as many out as I can. Vic, let's go to you first. Luton away, Derby in top form, Luton in form. What are you thinking?
I think if we play the way we have the last 2 games, I can't see anything but a positive result. I'm actually going to go with my heart on this one. I'm going to say a 2-1 Derby County win. I think we're going to keep the good form up. I think we're going to replace Kasha with Phillips, and he's going to have a blinder. And our goal scorers are going to be Jerry Yates, and I'm not going to say Caden Jackson. So we'll go with Mendes Lang.
God, I enjoyed Jackson's 2 really well taken chances towards the end of that game. The one that he lashed about 20 yards over the bar. Oh God, yeah, I know. I think even Jack might have got that one on target, but we might not be too ambitious. Yeah, let's not be too ambitious here. Craig, what are you thinking, mate, for Friday?
I think he's going to go to a back 3 for this. I think he'll bring Joe Ward back in. I thought he played well against Burnley, and I was thinking draw, but I forgot that Bradley played for Luton, and I think he'll come on and he'll score from a corner late on, and we'll win 1-0.
That'd be nice, wouldn't it? That wouldn't be bad at all. In front of the away end as well. That'd be beautiful. That would be beautiful. Jack, what are you thinking, pal?
I want to say 1-1, but my head says 1-1, and I'm going to go with Vic. I'm going to go with my heart, and I'm going to go 1-0 Derby. Ben Osborne. It's about time, innit? I just feel like Ben Osborne in front of the away end, he is going to go nuts, isn't he? I'm already manifesting it. Ben Osborne's first goal for Derby is going to be a spectacle. So let's hope it's Friday night. I'm going to go free kick. Ben Osborne's going to whip it in the top corner, and we're all going to lose a mind.
He's going to hit it. It's going to deflect off the wall. It's going to hit a man in the box. It's going to come off the keeper's head and go in the top corner.
Abdul Kamara at Leicester away.
I hope he celebrates like Kamara did that day as well. That'd be good. I've got a few in the comments. So Jim Johnson says Luton 0, Derby 1. Ebu Adams. Harry Hammond says 2-0 Derby. Harness and Nelson scoring. Infernal says Derby 2-0, Osborne and Kenzo. That would be nice. Simon Pollard says Luton 1, Derby 2, Kenzo and Yates. And you know what? I'm going to go with Jack Doughty on this one, because I think this is the game where Ben Osborne gets off the mark. I don't think it'll be a screamer. I think it'll be the worst goal we've ever seen. But you take what you can get, and we'll take 3 points, hopefully back to Derby to make it a really strong 2 weeks and cheer everyone up going into Christmas as well. So thank you so much, everyone, for listening. If you did enjoy, please do leave a like. Please do subscribe. Please do rate us on Spotify, Apple Pods. I've had loads recently. Been really nice to see. 5-star ones, obviously. The 1-star ones are not quite as nice. But thankfully, we can't tell who's done what, which, helps me sleep at night. But Yeah, as I said, thank you very much for listening. Please do donate to our Running for Derby Food for Thought Alliance. Craig, you've never done this before, so just follow everyone's lead here. It is goodbye from me.
Let's hope we can back up that Portsmouth performance, and long may the good fun continue. Goodbye from me.
Big up the Sonny Bradley Derby. It's goodbye from me.
And the 3 teams worse than us. Just to mention Simon's comment, I said at least 3 or 4 teams worse than us, and it's a goodbye from me.
Jack's so low down on the screen because he's digging a big hole for himself. So
Yeah, I'm digging.
Thank you so much for listening. Hopefully we'll see you after another win next week. We'll see you soon.